when Elena Brooks arrived at the Whitmore mansion for her first day as a nanny. The housekeeper gave her one piece of advice. Whatever you do, don't take Mason's behavior personally. Elena smiled nervously. How bad can he be? The housekeeper sighed. 13 nannies. Elena frowned. What about them? They all quit. Before Elena could ask another question, a loud crash came from upstairs. Everyone looked up. The housekeeper sighed. That was probably Mason. Elena looked toward the staircase. A 10-year-old boy slowly appeared at the top. He wore an expensive blue shirt, designer sneakers, and the most innocent expression Elena had ever seen. He looked at her. She looked at him. Hi, Elena said warmly. I'm Elena. The boy folded his arms. I know. You do. My dad told me you're the new nanny. Elena smiled. I'm looking forward to getting to know you. Mason stared at her. Then he said calmly, You won't be here long, and walked away. Elena laughed softly. Well, at least he's honest. What Elena didn't know was that Mason had already decided she would be gone within 3 days. But Mason wasn't simply a spoiled billionaire son. He had a reason. His father, Callum Whitmore, was one of the richest men in the city, and for the past few years, women had constantly entered his father's life. Beautiful women, expensive women, women who loved the mansion, the cars, the vacations, and the billionaire lifestyle. Mason had watched them carefully. Whenever his father was around, they were sweet to him. But when Callum left, their attitudes changed. One woman once told Mason, Your father can hire someone else to deal with you. Another complained that having a child would interfere with her lifestyle. Mason never forgot those words. He wanted a mother, not a woman who wanted his father's money. And there was one thing that made his plan possible. Every year on his birthday, Callum made him the same promise. One wish, Mason. Anything you want. Mason had decided that one day, when he found the right woman, his birthday wish would be simple. Dad, marry her. So every nanny was secretly being tested. Could she be patient? Would she care about him? Would she treat people kindly? And most importantly, did she want his father? Or did she want his father's money? Unfortunately for Elena, Mason's tests were not exactly normal. On her first morning, Elena prepared breakfast. Mason, come and eat. I don't like pancakes. You haven't even tasted them. I know I don't like them. Elena smiled. Fine, I'll eat them myself. She sat down. Mason watched from the doorway. He expected her to argue. She didn't. The next morning, Elena discovered that her shoes were filled with tiny pieces of cereal. She looked toward Mason. He quickly looked away. Mason. What? Did you put cereal in my shoes? No. Elena held up one shoe. Interesting, because I don't remember eating cereal in my bedroom. Mason tried not to laugh. Elena smiled. Very funny. You're not angry. A little. So you're going to quit? No. His smile disappeared. Why? Because cereal isn't enough to make me quit a job. Mason frowned. The next day, he replaced the sugar in her coffee with salt. Elena took one sip and immediately made a terrible face. Mason burst out laughing. Oh my goodness. Elena looked at him. You got me. Mason stopped laughing. You're not angry. No. Why? Because you're 10. She smiled. You still have time to learn better ways to make people laugh. For the first time, Mason didn't know what to say, but he wasn't giving up. One afternoon, he found Elena carrying groceries into the kitchen. He quietly walked behind her. Then he lifted a bucket of water. He hesitated. This was the biggest test yet. He poured it. The water crashed over Elena's head. She screamed in shock and fell to her knees. Mason froze. Her hair was soaked. Her uniform was dripping. She looked completely exhausted. Mason suddenly felt terrible. He expected her to shout. Instead, Elena slowly looked at him. Mason, why? He lowered his head. I don't know. Elena stood up. She could have screamed. She could have called his father. She could have walked out. Instead, she noticed the tears forming in his eyes. She walked toward him. Are you okay? Mason looked up. Why are you asking me that? Because you look sad. But I just poured water on you. I know. You should be angry. I am upset. She crouched down in front of him. but I'm more worried about why you keep trying so hard to make me leave. Mason's eyes filled with tears. He looked away. Everyone leaves. Elena's heart softened. She reached for his hand. I'm not everyone. Mason looked at her. Promise. I can't promise I'll be here forever. His face fell. But I can promise you something. What? I won't leave just because you make one mistake. Mason suddenly hugged her. Elena hugged him back. For the first time, Mason realized something. Maybe he had finally found the woman he was looking for. But he still had one final question. Did Elena care about him? Or was she simply being nice because she wanted to keep her job? And Mason knew exactly how he was going to find out. His birthday was only 5 days away. Part 2. Mason's final test was different. He didn't plan a prank. He didn't hide Elena's shoes. He didn't pour water on her. Instead, he asked her a question. Elena. Yes. If my dad wasn't rich, would you still like me? Elena looked surprised. Of course. What if we didn't live here? I'd still like you. What if my dad wasn't a billionaire? She smiled. Mason, I don't care about your father's money. He studied her face. You really don't? No. Why? Because money can buy a beautiful house. She gently touched his shoulder. But it can't buy a good heart. Mason smiled. That evening, he watched Elena helping the kitchen staff clean after dinner. One of the workers accidentally dropped a tray. Everyone panicked. Elena immediately helped her pick it up. Don't worry. It's okay. Mason watched silently. She treated everyone the same. The rich, the poor, the workers, him. She didn't change depending on who was watching. Mason knew. She had passed. Now there was only one person left to convince. His father. That weekend, Callum came home with another woman. Her name was Vanessa. She was beautiful and sophisticated. Mason watched as she walked through the mansion. Wow, Vanessa said. She looked around. This place is incredible. Then she turned to Callum. When are we going on that vacation you promised me? Callum smiled. We'll talk about it. Mason quietly walked away. Later that night, he found his father in the study. Dad. Callum looked up. Yes. Do you like Vanessa? Callum smiled. I do. Does she like you? Of course. Mason stared at him. Or does she like your money? Callum's smile disappeared. Mason, I'm just asking. You're too young to understand adult relationships. Mason sighed. Maybe. Then he walked away. Callum watched him leave. He had no idea that his son had been studying every woman who came into his life. 5 days later, it was Mason's birthday. The mansion was decorated with balloons. There was a huge cake. There were presents everywhere. Callum hugged his son. Happy birthday, buddy. Thanks, Dad. And you know what that means. Mason smiled. My wish. Callum laughed. Yes, your wish. Mason looked across the room. Elena was standing near the dining table. She smiled at him. Mason took a deep breath. Then he walked toward his father. Dad, yes, I know what I want. Callum smiled. Anything. Mason pointed toward Elena. I want you to marry her. The room became completely silent. Elena's eyes widened. Mason. Callum stared at his son. Buddy, you promised. I know what I promised. Then marry her. Callum looked at Elena. Elena quickly shook her head. Mason, your father doesn't have to marry me because you made a birthday wish. But I want you to be my mother. Elena's eyes filled with tears. Mason continued. You stayed when I was horrible. He looked at her. You didn't leave when I poured water on you. Elena smiled through her tears. You cared about me when everybody thought I was just a bad kid. Mason turned to his father. She doesn't want your money. Callum looked at Elena. Mason's voice became softer. She wants me. Callum couldn't answer, because he suddenly remembered something. Every woman he had dated had asked about his money, about vacations, about houses, about cars, about business. Elena had never asked for anything, not once. Instead, she had spent her time making his son laugh again. Callum looked at her. Is this true? Elena wiped her tears. What? Do you really care about Mason? She smiled. With all my heart. Callum looked at his son, then back at Elena. I don't know if I can give you the answer Mason wants today. Mason's face fell. But Callum knelt beside him. Your wish is important to me. He looked at Elena again. But marriage isn't something I can decide in one afternoon. Mason nodded slowly. Elena walked over and hugged him. You did something very sweet for me today. I just wanted you to stay. I am staying. Promise. I promise. Mason smiled. Callum watched them embrace, and something inside him changed. For years, he had been afraid that every woman wanted his fortune, but Elena had been standing in front of him all along. She didn't want his mansion. She didn't want his money. She wanted his son to feel loved. That night, after Mason went to bed, Callum found Elena outside. I want to thank you. For what? For bringing my son back. Elena smiled. He was never gone. Callum looked at her. He just needed someone to listen. There was a long silence. Then Callum smiled. You know, Mason has terrible taste in birthday wishes. Elena laughed. He's 10. I know. They both laughed. Then Callum became serious. But maybe. Elena looked at him. Maybe what? Maybe he wasn't completely wrong about you. Elena's heart skipped. Callum smiled. I don't know what the future looks like. But I know I don't want you to leave this family. Elena smiled. I wasn't planning to. And upstairs, behind his bedroom door, Mason quietly smiled. His plan had worked. He hadn't found a woman who wanted his father's money. He had found a woman who loved him. And perhaps, he had finally found the family he had always wished for. The end. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to my channel for more interesting stories.